people watching. And we'll just take a glance at the
We're also
church.
here live from the Hormel Historic Home, our partner as always.
Make sure you give us a like and a comment. I saw a like already happen, which is awesome. We've got 6 people watching already. Holly Johnson says, beautiful church. We're up to 4 now, so do you want to get started or?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good. All right, so we are here today with Father Steffes. Did I say that right?
Father Steffes.
Steffes. And he's going to give us a little peek here behind the scenes and a little history and information about their recent restoration.
Well, welcome everybody. It's great to be here with you. To have you with us virtually in this beautiful church. People often comment how beautiful it is. I totally agree, but I always like to follow up by saying people here are even more beautiful than the church itself. This church is actually the second church of St. Augustine, which was started in 1894 and completed in 1896. There was an original church that stood on these grounds, not exactly in this spot, a little further back, and the block that was built in, well, it was started in 1863, but then because of the Civil War, it was put on hold for a while, but completed in 1867. So that was the beginning of our parish life here at St. Augustine, but actually originally it was called St. Austin. I don't know exactly when the name changed. I can't find that in history books anywhere, but somebody out there might be able to tell us when it changed. So we are actually beginning on the scene, and then we'll eventually go behind the scenes as far as we get, as we move up to the balcony and then up towards the bell tower. But just to show you this beautiful church, built, as I said, in 1896. Our windows date back to the same time they're original to this church. They were built in Buffalo, New York. Part of the Munich school, the German school, style of stained glass. They are just beautiful. They were also restored when we restored the church some years back, but most of them were restored in 2018 when we started the restoration of the entire inside of the church. There's so much I could say about this church, just the style, the Gothic style. What we did to restore it was to go back to a traditional Gothic style, not necessarily what this church looked like in 1896 when it was completed, but to highlight Gothic style architecture. It's a beautiful church, and we have about 1,000 families that are members of this church. So one of the biggest, if not the biggest faith community in the city of Boston. We want to start walking up. The steps will go up to the balcony first, and we can talk a little bit more about the church up there. So, as a Catholic community, I can kind of talk as we go. The first Mass was celebrated in Austin in 1859 by a priest that came down from the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis. And the first Masses were celebrated in people's homes until the first church was built. And then the first pastor started with that new church in 1867. And he was around for a number of years until, for 1867 until about 83. And then Father Sullivan became the pastor in 1883. And now we're going up to the balcony. Beautiful stained glass throughout this stairwell as well. So he was pastor in 1883, and they decided at that point they needed to build a new church because the parish was growing. But they actually didn't start until 1894, and that was this church. That's when the cornerstone was laid. Sorry, I think I forgot before, it was Father McDermott, another Irishman that was before O'Sullivan. So then Father Devlin took over in June, and he was here for the dedication in 1896, November 26th of that year, with Bishop Cotter, who was the first bishop of the Diocese of Winona. The church actually predates the diocese being established, which was in 1889. So we existed before the diocese did. We were part of the Archdiocese of Minneapolis. So now we're up in the balcony. We have a great view of the whole church. So much symbolism in the church. Notice there's 12 pillars, which symbolizes the 12 apostles upon which the church is built. With St. Peter, that apostle of primacy. There's a beautiful window of St. Peter when he received the keys from Jesus, who said, "Upon this rock, Peter, I will build my church," the Church of Jesus Christ. But under the authority of St. Peter, the first pope, and today we have St. Francis, his successor. There's so much symbolism, as I said. There are these rosettes, or these leafy, flowery rosettes. There's 7 up in the sanctuary, symbolizing the 7 sacraments of the church. And they built the church originally, as was through the history of the Catholic Church. A lot of people were illiterate. They couldn't read, they didn't have education, so a lot of the symbolism taught people about our faith. As the windows do, depiction of the life of Jesus, different miracles of Jesus. People could learn about the life of Jesus by looking at the windows or the symbols in the church, like the columns or the rosettes, etc. So there's so much beauty, education, knowledge, just in the structure and the architecture of our church. In the center down there is our baptismal font. Through the waters of baptism, we enter this life of grace and come into the fullness of the church through baptism.
Was the ceiling always blue like this?
It was not. This was part of the restoration. It's the common style of Gothic churches. Again, it's symbolizing the heavens, all of God's creation. It's under the sky, under the dome of heaven, that we give worship and praise to our God. People often ask, how many stars are up there? I have the little kids guess. None of them have guessed correctly. There's 3,500 stars up on the ceiling. And they're all individually foiled. There's some gold leaf and gold paint in our church. The stars are actually silver, put on the same way gold leaf is, so it's a 3-step process. They're foiled, as you will learn on this virtual tour. I do not like heights, so I'm not going to go up to the balcony or up to the bell tower. I'll be that honest. But I did put 2 stars up on the ceiling, just because I had to go up there. I went up on the scaffolding once. And then all the contractors knew I wasn't going to go up again. I mean, as you can tell, this is already pretty high up. So should we continue to climb?
Sure.
But we suddenly move on to the beauty, so if there's anything else you want to know about the church as we continue to progress.
For those that are watching live, let us know if you have any questions. You can type them in the comments box. And hopefully we'll get them before we conclude.
Or you can email me with your questions. I'll try to answer. If not, I will look it up and answer.
That's always my response too. I might not know it right away, but I'll find out.
So we are going into this side room. Now we're going behind the scenes.
Here we go, behind the
Partly as a
scenes.
storeroom right here.
How many people have been through this door before?
It's a beautiful room. Again, beautiful stainless window in here. And as you can see, this stairway, this starts leading up to the bell tower. We go up to one room, and then there's a double set of staircases before there's a ladder. An interesting point of our history. In 1976, our bell tower was struck by lightning, and part of the steeple fell, and the bell fell through the steeple, and the church caught on fire. But because of the quick response from the firefighters, they contained it right away, and the church was not badly damaged. There was some smoke damage, obviously a little water damage, but it could have been so much worse if they did not respond as quickly as they did. So later in that year, they rebuilt the bell tower, replaced the bell. I believe it is the same bell, though there is some discrepancy. Again, I should have looked that up beforehand. But it did fall through the steeple. They have hoisted it back up as they rebuilt the tower. And there's a beautiful video that they put together when they replaced the steeple with the large cranes. That was in 1976, so we're gonna go up. And if I remember, there's some places where you can see where original ceiling was and some of the joints.
Before we go up, I have a question about the altar. Is that the original altar?
Up in the sanctuary?
Yes, in front of the sanctuary.
So the original altar was what we call the high altar. That was up against the back wall, because the priests used to face the same direction as the people as we worship God. And then after Vatican II in the 60s, the priests turned. So the original was on the back wall, but the one that is there now is not the original. That was replaced in an earlier restoration, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
And then there's the main altar that we use now. Again, that was an original because they didn't have those. But that predated an earlier restoration. Before we did this restoration, started in 2018, and May 1st completed with the rededication October 7th of 2018. The church had not had a restoration or a painting since 1962, so it had been a good 50 years before. Obviously, throughout there had been a few things that needed to be done, some patchwork, but not a full restoration to this point. So,
And you said it was May through October of 2018?
May 1st of 2018, and we completed for dedication October, so in 5 months.
Wow, that's fast.
They did all this, and everything was totally done. Every square inch was repainted. All the millwork, the woodwork was stripped and restained. Some of the millwork is new, just the wainscoting around the walls, but most of it is the original, restored, and then some of the back wall, because we had to replace that to put in some steel support beams. So that was reconstructed, and that woodwork is new. We've been waiting for a new stained glass window that goes over the front doors. That's actually coming in next Monday. So if you're walking by, don't gather in a crowd to come and see it. But if you stand down the block, you can see that go in next Monday. So any more questions before we start climbing and we're out of breath? Hey,
Somebody
Do
said
one of
this
you
used
wanna
to
go
be the bride's
first?
dressing room.
Ooh.
Does that?
I've heard that too. It could have been. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's correct. I've heard that as well. So the bride's had to climb up without
And
me
then
and
climb
you.
down.
A lot of
Hope you
people
practice
moving the
walking.
dress.
Yeah.
So do one of you want to go first, and
Sure.
then
I'm gonna
Watch
climb up
us on the
the
way down.
stairs live and try not to trip on my face.
yes, be careful.
So,
And then
Here
do
we
you want me to
go.
go, or do you want?
doesn't matter.
However you
We're gonna get two
from
views
this.
of Jamie climbing. Thanks.
Your phone and mine.
All right.
Let's start going behind her then. How are we doing on time?
We're good. I think we're at around 10 minutes, so we are just fine.
Okay.
I hope you guys all appreciate how much climbing and steep staircases we're doing for this program. A lot of us really like it. Sorry, the camera's a little shaky. You guys might know that by now.
I'm not encouraging that. Ceiling you see above was replaced when the bell fell through the ceiling in 1976. stairway that you see going up there was replaced and new. You see those little doorways up on the top. Those are balconies when you're going past St. Augustine. You see little balconies. Oftentimes people don't even notice them. There's so much beauty to this church. There's so much intricacy. There's little balconies outside of the steeple. So that's the way to get out on those balconies. We unfortunately not able to go out on those. Now, as you can see, there's no way to get up there unless we are rock climbing, brick climbing.
I have Mike Hansel said he wrote his name up here several places in the 60s.
All right, Mike.
Does he remember where?
Remember
Mike,
where?
where did you
We'll
write
look for
it? We'll find it.
If you caught what Jamie just said, a lot of these bricks have names on them.
Notice there's one stained glass window that's still in here that's original.
Anybody watching?
I'm
that
assuming
see that, we can look for it.
that these were totally ruined when the tower was struck by lightning and they were not replaced. I'm not sure if it was just by grace and blessing that the front one
Yeah.
looks out over the city down 4th Avenue, which is a beautiful view of this church. That one is in, they may have switched them so that it's the only one left up in this tower. Again, so much history just in the stained glass windows. Many people believe that they were from Germany, but I personally have an interest in stained glass. We know they're not because of the opaque windows. That was a style that began in the United States, did not come over from Germany. This one you see more of the cathedral glass, which is that clearer glass. That would have been more style as opposed to the opaque where you can't see through a lot of it. The main windows at the body of the church have those opaque windows. It's another reason that we know it's part of the German school, the Munich school. But then there's a little indicator. It's stamped in several of the windows. If you look closely, you can see where it's marked by the Stained Glass Company in Buffalo, New York from 1590.
Let's go Buffalo. Oh.
I got a request to look right up, so.
Look straight up?
Yep.
Okay.
So that red staircase there leads all the way up to the top, but
And
I'm
above
not doing
that, that is a stairway, a straight ladder above that goes up to the next. So we could probably maybe start a little tour. We don't have that anymore.
The view of the stairs.
Mike, you should have been giving the tour.
Yeah.
Glad we have no pigeons in here tonight, or today, or any bats in our belfry.
Oh, someone just said, can bats get in?
We try to keep them up. No, so as you notice, we keep those little doors, those little latches, and the windows secured. We have had them in here though.
We have periodic bat issues at the historical society too.
I think people know that we do too at
We're
home.
Well, that's funny,
I
because the
see
former
a
building
few
is.
of my brother Chris have their names scratched.
Oh, maybe you need to scratch yours in.
Scratch mine in. There are a lot of names on here.
All right, well, I think we're gonna be wrapping up soon, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. We'll be back next week. Wait, where are we going next week, Amanda? Oh, is it the cemetery?
No.
We've got so many
We're gonna
ideas,
go
guys,
behind
I
the
can't
scenes in
remember
the
which one's
cemetery.
next. Later tonight, we'll post it where we're headed next week on Facebook and get an event up there.
I think it might be the cemetery, isn't it? Next week's the 20th, right? Next Wednesday?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, okay, so it will be me
Okay,
at the cemetery.
So next week, oh yeah, Holly just chimed in.
Okay.
Nice.
So next week, we're going to the cemetery, and Jamie's gonna be presenting. So be
Yes.
sure to tune in and get it on your calendars.
We're gonna be in Oakwood Cemetery next week, and we're gonna be talking about, some of the soldiers buried there, because it will be So, I guess I gotta get myself ready and organized.
Oh, we've got history in the
Oh,
making. History happening right here.
This is harder than it looks. I'm probably wearing out my master key.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't use the master key. Use like a padlock or something.
I started with that one, but I switched. Yeah, not real visible.
You'll have to come back up and.
Yeah, and this is, like this
It
would
was
be a
like
fun
Ian
one.
Dixon, our 90-some-year-old volunteer comment, you know,
Right,
it's
just
like,
always wanted to do that.
oh my gosh, yeah. I haven't looked at it, you were only at like 5.
Anyhow, this chain belongs on that motor, and they were gonna fix it one time. The cost was more than Father wanted to pay, so we got a bunch of parts downstairs, you know. Get up here again before I quit. I'm supposed to be done in September.